All right, I'd like to call to order the West Philly Public Schools School Building Subcommittee meeting for Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. Time is 6 o'clock. Members present are Cindy Kirchhoff, Audrey Fulbert, Chris Duhamel, Dr. Mark Garceau, Steve Barone, Mike Ober, Mark McKinnon, and myself, Justin Hopkins. We also have with us as guests, Deb Reading from Downs, Ashley Crester from DBVW, John Shive from NCA as part of the NCA TSKP Alliance. And we have Ray Smith from O&G Industries, the contractor for State Street School. First order of business is approval of meeting minutes. You should have all received minutes from the June 11th meeting. So if there are no modifications to this, we'll entertain a motion to approve. So,
Second.
any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item on the agenda is public comment. We have no members of the public here, so we will go to approval of invoices, which we have none, correct?
None.
We do that in the first meeting. So let's go right into owner's project manager / architect update.
Thank you, Justin. And we'll jump right into EBBW. Ashley.
Hey.
Change order to Howard.
Went second last time. Oh, we're here.
So another consensus item, the wallpaper removal.
Yeah, I got that on there.
Yep.
Total 3 slides, including the cover, so I'll be quick. Oops. There we go. So we have change order 12. This is basically just some housekeeping. Total amount is right over, I don't see it because it's. There we go, 29,554.61. Fire pump floor drain, this is it was missed on plumbing. I'm not gonna, mince words on that one. We needed the fire pump floor drain. We had to excavate some concrete, get to it, to a line in the hallway. Dunn's Corner type AB fixture, the type of fixture that was spec'd was a retrofit. We got the manufacturer to swap for free, and this is just a change in the cost between the 2 types of fixtures. Operable steel, partition steel at Dunn's Corner. There was some cross bracing that we needed to address and maintain. So there was some additional welding and some additional members that need to be put in. That's 3,300. And then DC at Dunn's Corner, the transformer for the OWTS. The septic system was mostly designed in order to go to Rhode Island DEM. And the issue was that the pumps that the septic company was providing need 230-volt, and we only had 208 available, so we had to put a small step-up transformer to get the 2 to work. So those are the 4 items on this change order 12. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Ashley?
No.
Okay, so you need a formal motion
To approve, yeah.
to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay. The only other thing we want to bring up is that the Springbrook principal has re-upped her request for the removal of the wallpaper and repair of the walls in the Springbrook admin area. We had originally decided to forego the painting in there because the wallpaper had already been painted and it was in good shape, but she would like it removed. We asked the GC to provide a order of magnitude. We haven't gotten an official change order yet from them, but they said 9,500 to do those 4 rooms. This does not include any moisture mitigation should we encounter any. If the SBC wishes to pursue this, I'd say let's go with a little bit higher because I don't know if they provided their markup and everything in the $9,500. So I would say 11,000 would be a safe CCD number.
What are the other 3 rooms, Ashley?
It's the her office, the in-school suspension next door, the conference room, and there's one room before her office, I believe, between the nurse and the principal.
Oh, it's the nurse.
Not the nurse.
Then principal, assistant, conference.
Yeah.
So why are they saying it needs to be removed?
This was some of the last bit of the wallpaper that we didn't get last summer.
Right.
And, we thought it was in good shape. She doesn't want to have to deal with that anymore, deal with any of the wallpaper, and any of the concerns that it might come with. So, I am concerned about adding the scope to the contractor, to be honest with you. I think they've got a lot on their plate as it is. But, she has been very adamant about it, talking to Mark, Deb and myself, so I wanted to bring it before the committee
Right.
again.
And also Jen has expressed that she doesn't want it painted. If it's not gonna be removed, then don't paint it.
Yeah, we already took the credit on the paint, so we would have to nullify the credit in change order 8 and then have the cost for that work go back in.
Mark, what's chances of us just doing this in-house at some point, not immediately? You could probably take that on.
Yeah, I would second that, put it in some kind of capital something or operating in the future.
The fear is if it's like the other rooms that we saw in the classrooms, if there's something behind that wall that we're not anticipating,
Right.
we'd have to bring in some professional help.
Isn't that a ton of work painted wallpaper?
Depends how it was prepped.
We did find that the wallpaper in the classroom area came off pretty well, but it did take the paper with it of the drywall in some cases, so they had to skim the whole wall, basically. If we don't encounter anything, then it could definitely be done over a school vacation. But, you know, if you encounter something, then you've ripped open walls that you might need to take care of.
There's safety, air quality concern right now, or is this cosmetic?
It's all cosmetic.
Yeah, there have not been roof leaks in there, and we got a new roof now in that area.
And it doesn't seem to be peeling.
Yeah, exactly. That was the reason we recommended not removing it to begin with. But she has re-upped her request, so I wanted to bring it before you guys.
So we pull some off and we may find that we have a air quality issue or a potential one.
Right.
Correct. And I think that might be some of her concern, is that it could be there, but we don't know.
But the main problem is that it would just create more work for the people already there,
Correct.
you know, on top of what they're already doing.
Yeah.
I think, but if we think it's okay, let's postpone it and do it later.
Two.
Yeah, I say we hold on
Okay. Is that a general consensus? I can relay it to her.
it. We could come back to it later, but I think we hold on now.
Okay. Again, like, we're still working with the bond money as long as State Street is going, so you can always try to find a contractor to do it next summer or something like that, or next spring, whatever the case may be. So. Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate your time on that. That's it for me.
So, just an update on both projects. Superintendent's been there all week and they have quite a bit of work going. Springbrook itself, they are in the building, they're outside the building, as Mark well knows, because he's been moving like crazy to get out of their way. And they've got steel beams going, a partition wall going in, steel beams going in inside, and they're outside, working on the additions, working on the site work. So there's a lot of activity at both schools, but Springbrook was a little behind, so they're playing catch up fast. So I agree with that. They really don't need anything else added to their plate right now. That said, Tower has gotten back to me, specifically Alpulos, and this is for Dr. Garza, Justin, and Mark McKinnon. He is available, and Ashley is available on the 2nd of July at 1 p.m. Just something for you all to consider if you were available.
Next week.
That's something like
He said he has some
some
dates the following week that we
Okay,
can review.
back to the week after. There you go. We still feel we want to have this meeting.
Yeah.
It's it for both schools, right?
For now, we'll see what we
Yeah,
come
we
up
have-
with tomorrow. We have a meeting tomorrow.
Right, we've had a little a little bit of encouraging news on the fire pump.
Yeah,
Looks
2
like
weeks
it's,
early.
2 weeks early.
Great.
So that's very good. They're holding, which is better than it being delayed on the switchgear. So,
And starting after July 4th week, DPW will be on site every week. We've been doing every other with a virtual in between, but we'll be on site every week this summer to make sure of that.
and we've been trying to be inside every day. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions for Ashley, Deb, on Duns and Springbrook? Oh, okay.
Great. John?
Go through, State Street.
Justin, do you have anything more for me?
No, you can just get out.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Fourth, everybody.
See you in the morning. Ashley.
See ya. Alright. So, I'll first give a brief overview of the, kind of what's happening on the site, construction progress. With Ray here, he'll see some of the progress is, most of these pictures are from last week, but you'll see that there's more progress, as you look through and visit the site and everything. Overall, in terms of timing, current progress, where we are today, we are on schedule. O&G did submit their schedule. It is under review. All things seem to be positive there, so we're moving in a good direction. And not just for Ray's benefit, as I've always said, O&G is doing an excellent job on the project.
He hasn't always
great. Again, just the overall orientation here of the site, so that way you can see where some of the photos are taken as we go through this. But basically, right outside the trailer, you can start to see the what we're calling the big 2-story volume. That is the gym at one end and the upper grades classroom area at the west end of that large volume. Mostly, it even a week ago was all sheathed, both from the roof sheathing and the wall sheathing. There's right now some air and vapor barrier going on the walls of the building there. And then box outs for the windows. The window and doors are all getting framed out. Even both with blocking and shims already. So that's good and encouraging. And you'll see those get wrapped with the air vapor barrier as the project moves along. The kindergarten wing, getting the roof trusses on. Most of those trusses are already on now, but it's great to see that wing.
That's the other side.
Yeah, it's first and
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I am flipped around. Okay, so that's first and second. Yeah. Yep. Some of the last of the concrete slabs were all being poured and placed last week. So good to see that there's concrete is now just about all done, right? Except for filling stair hands and things. So that concrete's. The second floor, again, where you're now looking back to the upper grades. This is from kind of back to where the gym is, looking back towards the west. Large future elevator there, and and I'll mention also now that the elevator masonry is underway, and that those concrete blocks are going to be coming up through that opening in the floor there. And then this is where the open stair will be, serving the more or less open area for the upper grades classroom area. Okay, so in terms of updates, what we wanted to do was provide a very basic overview and update from where we were 2 weeks ago regarding roof assembly. We had a lengthy discussion about that last time, and basically the net effect of last meeting was to leave with a CCD where we were tasked with pursuing other alternatives. So really the past 2 weeks has been a lot of that. What are those other alternatives, and how do we come up with the best possible solution here? So just to recap very briefly here, I don't want to go over this too much, but Again, we had an RFI prompted review of the roof assembly. We had review and discussion with manufacturers and contractors, both O&G and their subcontractors. We issued a letter and looked for some SBS action for the school subcommittee action last week, which was the CCD. So I don't want to dwell too much on the content of the letter since we talked about that extensively last week, 2 weeks ago. But again, that letter recommendation was the addition of supplemental HVAC above the ceiling and a vapor barrier as an enhanced solution. So just to walk through where we were, the initial design had the ice and water shield membrane as direct underlayment to shingles. That created, so the red dashed line was kind of that vapor barrier or where kind of the outer envelope element. What this starts to show is differentiating, like this is like the completely conditioned interior volume, and then there's what we call that residually conditioned attic space or above ceiling space. What we did when we were looking at CCD1 was the potential relocation of the vapor barrier in consideration with other options. And what we were asked to do both was consider like are there other buildings like that were done like that. So we had provided this example of one of our projects, which was a boathouse project in Glastonbury, Connecticut, and effectively the vapor barrier following the dashed line here. I tried to make this as large as I could, but the vapor barrier follows this dashed line, and it is directly on the plywood substrate, which then had the insulation above. It can be done that way, and that's the way we were pursuing after the last meeting. But after discussions about largely that had to do with getting maybe more air into the area above the ceiling, that prompted us to take a look at going back, and again, back to that letter, the first and foremost aspect of that was trying to get some supplemental HVAC into that space, and that left us with more flexibility as to what to do overall. So in essence, that's this diagram, and we're going to see another one later that starts to talk more about getting more enhanced HVAC, heating, cooling, ventilation into that attic volume or above ceiling volume, but keeping the air and vapor barrier out at the outer layer. Again, different options. The building example we're showing on the left here is it is a re-roofing project, but at least it was one that had its insulation, and then it had its decking, and then it had the ice and water shield over the whole roof, and then the shingles above that. This is a courthouse in Meriden, Connecticut. So again, both options, both suitable. But back to the core element here was the initial design with the ice and water shield membrane as direct underlayment to the shingles is what we're looking at doing at this point. And I'll just say that takes away the CCD, it takes away a PR20 that we had put in about what to do with the remaining underlayment to the shingles. So that all goes away. So there are no cost impacts to the beyond the contract here. What we are looking at doing is the addition of that supplemental HVAC above the ceiling, and that'll be a proposal request that we'll be putting into O&G shortly. The mechanical engineer is working on that. It is basically a work in progress. And again, to recap, so no other CCD or change order action at this time needed. So what does that look like? This is very basic and preliminary, but I want to show just the general extent. There are 3 basic different volumes we're talking about in the building, and this is not based on where they are in the plan. They're generally where they're located, but they're not exact. I just took snippets of the different mechanical plans, but what you see is there's major ductwork running over the corridors in all 3 of those areas that have that above ceiling that above ceiling volume. The intent here, the purple dots are basically showing where we would tap off for some of the supply side. to provide air up into that volume. And then most likely, this solution would be like the green areas would be the return, so that you're providing a little bit of that supplemental conditioned air up into the attic, up into that above ceiling space, and then returning it more centrally so that you create kind of a convective loops within each, or almost forcing the air to do a loop as well, to be able to get you that additional level of conditioning. So there will be a proposal request. Like I said, the mechanical engineer is working on this to provide the most cost-effective and efficient and the best performance that we can, the appropriate amount of performance that we need in order to make that, just address that concern. So that's where we are with this. I just wanted to make sure I walked everybody through the steps, so that we understand that we are looking at what the original design had for the ice and water shield, direct underlayment to shingles, and then that does tie into the air vapor barrier of the wall. We get more supplemental HVAC into that above ceiling space, and that is something we would be coming back once ONG has done the change order, which is after we submit the proposal request. But at this time, the key is that ONG could proceed with the roof as designed. They've got a lot of that roof sheeting up, so the next step would be to start putting that the first 2-inch layer of insulation, and then they come on top with the 4-inch nail base, ice and water shield, and then the asphalt shingles.
So because I've been in some of these working meetings, not with the contractor, but just as part of the check-in, and this issue has come up a couple meetings in a row, just to kind of understand the concern is for the attic space. First of all, with respect to where dew points are in the wall and the ceiling assembly, there's not any concern for the actual building envelope assembly. From what I've heard is that if it's an attic space that is more or less latent, in other words, stagnant, just promoting some air movement within the attic space will help alleviate any concerns of unconditioned space, building up moisture, although we do not believe any air vapor will penetrate the exterior envelope if doors are left open, if there's a leak or water accumulating in the building, just to have some avenue for exhaust within the attic space. That's what, like, I would challenge your mechanical engineer to focus less on the supply, more on the exhaust. If it's just a matter of tapping, we don't want to tap.
We call it makeup air. We're going to be ventilating the attic by drawing it in, but we'll just provide enough makeup air so that your ceiling tiles aren't floating up above your grid there.
So this solution, where this became kind of a mission critical thing, is we had a contractor in the field saying, we'd like to start our roofing material. This decision will impact that order of operations. This at least gives you guys the ability to move forward while we suss out this other solution, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on this one or any concerns?
A new problem that just came up.
It's been lingering for a few weeks now. It stemmed from a benign question about the roof warranty that went into more analysis or more questions on our side of the table about what the assembly was going to do in the event of moisture in the building. So half of it is proceed as status quo. The other half is let's investigate the providing some air movement in the
Correct. Right.
attic space. Right? You guys have been on this meeting, Mark. You've been in this meeting.
That's exactly what we've been discussing. And to give some kudos to Ray, he's done some calculations. So the existing school space is 720,
Usable wall is
Usable.
approximately 710,000.
10,000 cubic feet, and the attic is 620,000 cubic feet. So you can understand why this has got to go to the engineer to get reviewed, right?
Mhm.
Because it's a sizable space up there.
Again, we're not conditioning the space,
Exactly.
to the sense that it's simply, to me, this is the equivalent of a fan in somebody's eave, or a soffit vent or a soffit vent and a ridge vent. It's just there to promote air movement.
Right.
So it does not become static.
Yeah, the letter defines.
So the concept of 620,000 cubic feet, it's not like it's going to be air movement in here.
Right, yeah, this darker green gets conditioned to a very strict tolerance. This lighter green gets conditioned to a much broader tolerance.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so no action really required, and that's really all I have on the update at this time, until we come back with that change order and others that.
Ray, your presentation is up after this. Or- Does anybody have any questions for O&G, the contractor? I know it's, you guys have been, from all reports, you guys have been working well next to the occupied school, right? And you're keeping in touch with Audrey and gonna have another year of that. So thank you for, it's always a trick to build a new school right next to an existing one. So it's not for the faint of heart. So
We're working our way through it with the little space we have between the two buildings.
They've been great neighbors.
good.
Absolutely.
The best neighbors, right?
And kudos to your supervision team on site. They're doing a fantastic job.
Great. Thank you. Anything else, Doug?
No, we are good.
Okay, we'll make you guys stick around if you don't need to, or if you don't want to, but we have just a couple of other items here. Capital projects update.
Quick, we've got the mini splits going in right now. We're starting in Springbrook's admin area to get out of Powers Way, essentially. After that, we will be, depending on when they finish up, we have to
Thank
go
you,
to
John.
Doug's Corner. That mini split is being installed next to the gym, so we have to do some coordination of when we can access that area between the painting and the floor going down. And then after that, it's the middle schools. And they have about 8 to put in there as well, so that'll wrap up the work that they have over the summer.
Great. So just thinking for future agendas, the next slate of capital projects that we want to assist wherever we need to. I'm assuming that those are in the queue. You have ideas. Have we gotten an MOA yet?
Just confirmed. You see anything official?
No, I haven't.
I haven't got any notifications from the portal either, so I'll have to reach out to you.
So the good news is that, I think I reported this on, previous, or maybe it was, we were meeting on the night. Westerly was one of 2 applications that were approved, at the Rhode Island, Rhode Island Department of Education Council on Elementary and Secondary Education, which is a mouthful. Us and Charahoe of all districts, submitted 2 capital improvements, plans. I think the total amount, don't quote me on this, was around 26 million for capital improvements over 5 years, of which we get a 35% reimbursement. So that's kind of our cue to get to work on this annual cycle of CapEx projects. So Mark, whenever you wanna, you let me know whenever you want, you're ready to talk, if we need to hire some consultants, all that stuff. Okay.
Right, I'm sure we'll be talking about the middle school roof soon, as we get into the next year. School year.
Yes, we can only do half of it, right? Okay, any other questions for capital projects? Okay, for next steps. So we're gonna be trying to set up this meeting with Tower, and EVBW. At that point, we're probably should think about what the turnover is gonna be for Duns and Springbrook, whether or not we have or ribbon cutting, what the timing of that is. Because I believe if we look at the calendar,
Don't think we wanna try to have it before the start of school.
okay, all right. Well, maybe we start
We're gonna
to,
be sliding into home plate, I believe.
yeah, maybe we start, maybe align it with, open house or,
Exactly, maybe a great idea.
so we would be meeting July 9th and the 23rd.
And that was the other question, if we wanted to go back like last summer, do one meeting a month, or if we need to do
Well,
two.
what we try and do is in the first meeting of the month, tackle all of the invoices, so we get people paid, we move money. Cash flow is king in these projects, so, you know, definitely have the first meeting, we'll evaluate whether or not we need to have the second meeting. You know, I think we pulled the lever on some meetings where we didn't need to have the second meeting, but let's at minimum plan on the 9th.
Mhm.
With a minimum plan on the 9th and August 13th. And we will evaluate whether or not we need to have the 23rd or of July or the 27th of August. Yeah,
What is that?
okay,
Right, and I think that planning it for the open house date would be a great idea. Plus, we'll have the furniture, because we're not even gonna have the furniture until September. Some of these spaces.
okay. Okay, anybody else need anything for next steps, want to report out on anything? Okay. There continues to be no member of the public in attendance unless Ray, you want to say anything? Okay. Okay, so hearing nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.